Good afternoon, everyone. My name is TJ Bernard, and I will be interviewing Wes Moore. How are you doing?
Good, TJ. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. Can you give a brief description on your academic life, your coaching life, how long you've been coaching, and
Okay.
what got you interested in the coaching?
Okay. This will actually be my 30th year as a college coach.
All
Long time, huh? I went to a real small school now called Johnson University in Knoxville, Tennessee. Grew up in Dallas, Texas. Big Cowboy fan, and but went to school to play basketball and obviously earn a degree. And then went on to the University of Tennessee and got another degree and got my master's. And I always loved sports. I actually, for a while, was in sales and doing some other things, and decided that my love for sports and for working with young people was so strong that I needed to go back to school and finish up. And so that's what I did. And it's been a blessing. I look forward to going to work every day, and I'd recommend, encourage anybody to find something you have a passion for and make that your career. I always tell our kids, our players, no matter how much money you're making, if you dread 5 days a week just for the weekend, that's not a good trade-off. So anyway, I decided to pursue it and started out in Maryville, Tennessee as Division III head coach. So haven't really been an assistant, but for a couple of years, and that was here at North Carolina State back in the mid '90s. So, but just was in Tennessee, and then I came here as an assistant, and then I went to school in South Carolina, Francis Marion University, as a head coach. And then I went to University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, and was the head coach there for 15 years before coming back here, obviously as a head coach now. So again, it's been a heck of a journey and a lot of fun.
That sounds inspiring in a sense. You talked about what got you into coaching. What got you into women's basketball?
Yeah, this is going to be a real good one for you, TJ. When I came out of college there in Knoxville, Tennessee, I had 2 job offers. One was coaching boys basketball at a high school, but I was going to have to teach science like 5 or 6 periods a day. Only reason I was certified in science was because as a PE major, we had to take a whole lot of science classes. So I was certified to teach science, but I would have had to study more than the students because I wasn't really that adept at science. So or take a women's basketball coaching job at the Division III level in college, where instead of teaching classes, mostly I was recruiting. And so I was kind of tired of school by that time, TJ. I'd had enough studying, so I decided I'm going to take the women's job, and so I don't have to study every night to prepare to teach science. So that's kind of a roundabout way to get into it, but just shows you how life is. Sometimes the simplest decisions affect the rest of your life. So very fortunate the way it worked out.
It is fortunate now, and now you're one of the very few coaches to have won 600 games and 800 games or less. In comparison to men's basketball, where they have one and done athletes, where they could come here for a year and
Right.
they could just leave, whether they're truly ready or not.
Right.
That's up to an
Yeah.
analyst. You have 4 years with these athletes. How does that give you an advantage over a coach that has to deal with that?
Well, first of all, planning. It really makes it a lot easier knowing what your roster is going to be like the next year. I feel for the men's coaches. Look at Coach Godfrey here on campus, who's done an unbelievable job. But each of the last 2 years, he's had people leave early or whatever. And again, because they're so talented, but makes it tough on the coach to know how to recruit and how to plan. So I enjoy trying to, whenever possible, recruit high school kids, because then you know you're going to have them for 4 years, and that hopefully they can continue to improve and get better. And I think the women's side, they want to please, they're coachable, and so it's been a great experience for me. And I coached guys a couple of years when I was like a student coach almost, but I definitely have enjoyed coaching women, and I do like the fact that our kids cannot turn pro here in the United States until they've spent 4 years in college.
Yeah, my mother actually feels the same way.
Yeah.
How does your recruitment process work in comparison to other coaches? Some coaches have different approaches to recruiting. What's your approach in terms of recruiting?
Well, I think the number one thing is I want to recruit good people. I want to win as much as anybody. I promise you that. But I also want to enjoy the journey, and I want to be proud of our kids, whether it's on the court, in the classroom, in the community. I want to be proud of our players, and so we're going to recruit character. And we think that if you do that, it may not be as quick a fix sometimes, but in the long run, you're going to be better off. And so I think that's a big thing, looking for good people. Obviously, you got to be able to play at this level. The ACC is very competitive, so you got to be talented. But we also, again, want to recruit the kind of people that we think when the going gets tough and you face adversity, they're going to be able to rise above that. So I think that's the biggest thing is talent, but also character.
Yeah, you just want to look for people that fit the puzzle, rather
Right.
than a bunch of hard work. Hard work beats talent when
Right.
talent doesn't work hard. I want to get a little bit back onto your topic about high school and all that, because some people say that these high school coaches don't prepare these athletes well for college level or even professional level. Do you feel that the high school coaches or even the AAU coaches prepare the athletes for your program in a way that suits your program?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think high school coaches do a great job. And, you're going to have, just like in college, whatever, you're going to have various degrees of coaching ability. But I think for the most part, and we recruit North Carolina extremely hard, I think North Carolina coaches do a good job preparing these kids. I think AAU, it's a little tougher in that they've got players that may live hours away from where they're practicing and all that, so they can't practice as much. So it's almost more, their practices are going to be more geared towards bringing a team together and helping them play together and click when they only get together, very sporadically. Whereas high school, you're with them every day, and so I do think you can spend a little more time on fundamentals and preparing them for the college game. But again, AAU coaches, there are a lot of them out there that are very knowledgeable and that can prepare them. So I think it's a combination, and obviously AAUs, it's easier for us to see a lot of quality players at one place. So recruiting, evaluating wise, it makes it a little bit easier. But I do think high school plays a big role, and I think some kids could probably spend more time in the gym on their own, working on their game rather than in the summer just playing games. I think there is you look at a Steph Curry or somebody like that, all the time that he spends working on his game individually, I think we are losing some of that. So sometimes some kids could benefit by playing fewer games and spending more time working on the fundamentals. But all in all, I think the coaches do a good job, and then we try to build on that.
Yeah, that sounds fairly reasonable. That sounds just about right. A lot of these coaches really, they get a lot of scrutiny over this.
Yeah.
Do you think social media plays a role in your recruitment process? Because nowadays you see a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of these ball is life hoop mixtapes and all this stuff where people have all this access as to that. Do you think that also plays a role in your recruitment process?
I think it does, for good or for bad. I think there's a combination there. I think social media can be very good. I also think it can be bad. First of all, I think in the recruitment process nowadays, you've got to be able to communicate with athletes. A lot of them, I don't like this, but a lot of them nowadays don't converse as well on the phone as they do texting and things like that. And that's just where we've gone. I think that makes it tough because I think some of them don't know how to communicate face to face because they're not used to talking, they're used to texting. So that's part of it. And then as far as the fans and everybody getting involved in social media, sometimes that can be a bad situation. In our sports nowadays, we've always used the example of, you need to see practice, you need to be out there every day to really know what's going on. And I just today, in fact, heard the analogy of the fans, they may see the outside of the car, whereas the coach, they see under the hood and they know what all's going on in there. So it's a lot deeper sometimes than what the social media is going to show. But all in all, I think it's fine. But it does put our players and coaches, everybody, under a lot more scrutiny, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, especially when a five-star athlete comes, and then a lot of people have all these high expectations. Getting a little bit deeper into social media, because one aspect of social media that influences the parents, because they want their children to succeed. They want to see their kids play to the best of their abilities. How do you deal with parents who have that kind of set goal for them?
Well, TJ, I tell you, it's funny. It seems like in college you don't have to deal with the parents as much. I think high school you definitely are dealing with parents. In college, I think most of them accept the fact that my son or my daughter has gone off to school. Now they're young adults. I'm going to let them communicate with the coach and let them work it out. I'm not opposed to answering questions from a parent. Now, they may not like the answer they get, but, I'm going to tell you my thinking, and whether it be, I've had one parent one time say, my daughter plays better starting than she does off the bench. Well, I said, okay, well, she's shooting 19% from the three-point line. She's going to have to shoot a lot better from the three-point line if she's going to start. So that's up to her to get where she can do that. One of our great players, her freshman year, we played against when I was at Chattanooga, played against a BCS school, and they pressed the whole game, so she didn't play a ton. So then the parent asked me, why didn't she play? Well, because I was worried about the press, and her ball handling's not where it needs to be. That parent had a great outlook. That parent told me, okay, then now I know what to work on this summer. We'll work on our ball handling. So, again, I don't mind. I'll tell people what's on my mind, and you're always the players. I'm going to tell them. I'm going to speak up and let them know where they need to get better and what they need to work on. And but again, seems like college you don't deal with parents quite as much as you do, say, high school.
That sounds like a great thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because I had one high school coach tell me the next job he took, he was going to coach at an orphanage, so he didn't have to deal with parents. So, yeah, I think we're fortunate that at the college level we don't do that much.
That sounds great. I think for me, I probably want to be a college coach.
There you go.
Coach. Getting into some of the athletes, I don't know. Not a lot of people really disclose this, but there's always an occasion where some athletes may have a medical condition. For example, I have sickle cell, so if I was to play basketball for NC State, I think the coach would have to make certain adjustments in order to, while he could utilize me, he doesn't want me to risk my life for it. Right. How do you deal with that kind of athlete?
Well, we're very blessed here at NC State to have great trainers as well as doctors. We have a lot of doctors that come on campus during the week, and whether it be to evaluate an injury or an illness or whatever, or whether maybe it's to help with the treatment and recovery, we're very blessed in that way. So at this level, I don't have to make a whole lot of those calls and those decisions. I let the medical staff handle those, and whatever they say goes. And they definitely have the student athletes' well-being foremost in every decision they make. So again, it's not asthma, I think, is another example. So those things, like I said, we just handle them the best we can. And the student athlete has to know how far they can push. They also have to realize, though, this is the big time. And so whoever can perform at the highest level is who's going to play. And so if you do have a situation like that, a medical situation, you have to find a way to deal with it and make it work.
Yeah. Not to say that these athletes can't play,
Right.
but make sure that everything is well within order.
We've had several in my years. I've had several sickle cell situations, and like I said, the trainers kind of monitor workouts, practices, that sort of thing, and between them and the student athlete and how they're feeling, they make those decisions.
That sounds pretty reasonable. Especially for those who actually look at that as
Right.
Their outlook, their
Right.
outlet. Now, how do you deal with like a certain athlete that they're not performing well, whether on the court or even academically? Because this again, going back to social media, this kind of outlook where some people look at it like, who cares about the academics? Just play ball, play well, go pro, make your money, etc. But a lot of people don't realize academics plays a huge role. I want to ask you, how do you deal with that kind of athlete or even that kind of image?
Well, first of all, let's go back to what I originally said. I want to be proud of them in every situation. And I always tell them when I'm recruiting them, I want the whole enchilada. I grew up in Texas, so I'm a big Mexican food person. I want the whole enchilada, and that means, again, I want you to perform on the court, in the classroom, and I want to be proud of you in the community. So all those areas, you don't punch a time clock and you're off the clock so you can do whatever you want. You no longer represent NC State. You represent NC State 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, but academically, our team, first of all, let me say, they've done a great job. I think our team GPA is right at a 3.0, and we only have, I think, one player below a 2.6. So our kids have done a great job, but they have high expectations, and so we, if they don't meet those expectations, we're going to add study hall hours and tutoring, and we're going to do everything within our power to help them get there. And really, there's no excuse with all the great resources we have here at NC State. There's no excuse for not doing well. So. But we're going to expect you to perform in the classroom just like we do on the court.
I'm going to say to these students, hit those books.
That's right.
Books.
That's right.
And knowledge is power. I want to get a little bit, not necessarily in the recruitment process, but it has a little bit of correlation. How do you handle walk-on athletes? Because I'm not saying it's like extremely difficult, but it's kind of a tricky situation where sometimes you do want to add maybe a little bit more people, a couple more people to the team, but sometimes you may have a lot of scholarships.
Right. Exactly.
And I just want to ask you, how do you do with that?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know how many people know this, but I think because of football, Title IX, all that stuff, women's basketball actually has more scholarships than men's basketball. So we don't have a problem with numbers per se a lot. But that being said, if someone is very talented and maybe has a love for NC State, we've got a young lady right now that started out as a walk-on, Ashley Williams, great student, engineering major, 3.8 GPA. But she had Division I offers, but she loved NC State, wanted to come here, walked on. Well, she started for us last year, and obviously she's been on a scholarship the last couple of years, and we, anticipate maybe having someone in the future too as well to walk on. But again, it can't be somebody that, I was recruited, by a Division III school or something, and now want to walk on at NC State. I think they have to, be very talented, maybe not quite the fit you're looking for in the ACC, but that definitely can bring a lot to the table. And you take somebody like that, and once we get on the court, TJ, it's all bets are off now. It doesn't matter if you're a walk-on, if you were the most heavily recruited player in the world. Now it's whoever can get it done on the court. So, but you're going to have to show me a lot on your resume before you're going to get that opportunity. But once you get it, here we go. Let's see who can get it done.
Yeah, that sounds great, because I know a lot of people, they kind of tend to give up because they're like, oh, I'm not recruited anymore.
Right.
Or with that, I would tell these athletes, keep pushing.
Right.
You never know what
Right.
opportunities you could get
Right.
in terms of sports. Let me ask you, because you touched on this a little bit. You said you coached Division III, Division II, and Division I, and you're one of the first coaches in history to actually coach all three divisions and teams to an NCAA tournament.
Right.
How does that build up your resume in terms of in terms of you as a coach?
Yeah. Well, TJ, it's about players. I always say you don't win the Kentucky Derby with a mule, no matter how good a jockey you are. You better have some horses. And, I learned that. It was even made more apparent to me. My first year at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, we won 10 games. My next year, second year, doing the same exact coaching things, philosophy, we won 25 games. And it's because we went out, recruited some really good players. So I understand it's about talent and about the players that you have. So I've just been very blessed, been very fortunate to coach some great young ladies, and Division III, I loved it. I did it for 6 years. It's tough because you're recruiting kids with no scholarships. It's like going in a candy store with no money. Okay. But I loved it. Then I was Division II down at Francis Marion University, and then now to be at this level at NC State it's amazing to think about. This, who's been in this building, who's coached on this court. So, but again, it's still basketball. No matter if you're coaching at a Maryville College with 1,000 students or an NC State with 34,000 students, you're still only coaching 13, 14 players, and nothing's changed. You try to be the best that you can be with that talent. So, again, though, it goes back to recruiting. You better have players.
Of course. And I say and not even just that. Sometimes you find that gem. Diamond
in the rough. Diamond in the rough. That's right.
I was trying. I'm gonna get into a bit more of a general picture of a coach, because now in society, you've seen that some of these coaches have. I'm not saying that they gain a lot of power, but they have a lot more influence in terms of team decisions. We've seen it professionally, where Doc Rivers, I think he's a coach, but I think he's also a general manager of a team, so he's able to make trades and all that stuff. Do you think that's also a pretty big goal for you as a coach, where you would like to maybe, whether it's professional or college, coach, but also have a bunch of say in terms of marketing and
we got a lot of great people here at State that support staff that handles all those things. So I got enough on my plate. I'm good. I know on the professional level I get it, because I think Bill Parcells in football used to say, if they're going to expect you to cook the meal, they ought to let you buy the groceries. Okay, so again, I understand at that level you're going to be judged winning and losing, and so deciding what players you want to get. Well, I'm getting to do that. Obviously, we recruit the players that we want, that we feel like can help us be successful. So I'm getting to do that, and I get to coach them. That's enough. So I'll let the marketing people do their thing, and we got great academic support. We got all kinds of nutritionalists, trainers, athletic trainers, those sort of things. So we're very blessed to have all those people in place to take care of the student athletes, and so I think we have a good situation the way it's set up.
Yeah. Do you also think that by having that kind of power, do you think that people are having more appreciation for a coach in comparison to back in the maybe '60s or somewhere? Even sometimes Bill Russell was the coach of a team, or do you feel like it's still the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, going back to there's a couple of things. Social media, like you said, that's changed things. Now everybody's a coach. Heck. So and that's what's bad is sometimes they only get half the story. If they're not in practice every day, if they don't know what's going on behind the scenes, it's a lot more difficult to make those decisions sometimes when you know everything about the whole situation. And then I think also the money. It's getting to be a big business, and there's a whole lot of money on the line with, the more you win, the more season tickets you sell, the more donors you have giving money to the university, and, the coaches are making a lot of money. And again, there's just a whole lot on the line, and that puts a lot of pressure on people to make decisions. And then you sometimes have to make decisions that involve ethics and that sort of thing too. So there's a lot of pressure to win, but I also hope that society, as a society, will keep things in perspective and still do the right thing as well.
Yeah. I think that coaching does have a big appreciation, but also that kind of leads a lot of people to having their own freedom to say
Right.
whatever. They could
Right.
they could talk about, oh, how this dude doesn't have the flick of his wrist right now,
Yeah.
even though he's still shooting well. But, they could talk about that. Getting into a little bit of social media, but not even just in terms of social media, but like it's the social aspect. How do you influence these student athletes to have a sort of social relationship with people from outside the community, where
Right.
you want people to be influenced to
Right.
either play basketball, do whatever, and some athletes look up to these
Right.
kinds of athletes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's a big responsibility. And I think our kids, again, going back to the fact we recruit good character people, I think because of that, this is a little bit easier for us. Our kids usually represent us really well. And, that's important because, again, with all the social media and all that, people recognize them when they're out about town or wherever. But our kids do a good job of, when we have a guest at practice or something, introducing themselves and trying to make that person feel at home. They do a lot of community service, whether it be Habitat for Humanity, whether it be going to schools and possibly reading to students, or maybe doing a little basketball clinic with them. Thanksgiving, helping get the groceries and stuff to feed a couple of families that might otherwise not be able to afford a big Thanksgiving dinner. So they do some good stuff, and I think they get it. I think they understand that these kids do look up to them, and that they have a responsibility there. So I think that's definitely a big part of college athletics.
I think so too, especially when not a lot of people get to play college
Right.
athletes. Who inspired you in terms of coaching? Like what people? It could be a rival, it could be a family, it could be
Right.
whoever. But who had a big influence in your coaching career?
Well, again, my first coaching job, full-time coaching job, was a head coach at a Division III college, and I was very blessed to have a men's coach who was also the AD there, a guy by the name of Randy Lambert, who was a great coach that kind of helped teach me how to be a coach, So I had that opportunity. Then after 6 years of that, I come here to NC State and worked for the legendary Kay Yow. And, spent a couple of years here. She is someone who coached here at NC State 34 years, took the team to a Final Four, coached the USA women's basketball team to a gold medal. So, to work with her was a great opportunity as well. And then just so many others, Pat Summit. I used to work her camps. I spent 6 years at a small school right there in the shadows of Knoxville. And we ended up playing each other every year when I was at UT Chattanooga. So Pat Summitt definitely was somebody I looked up to and learned a lot from. So I've been fortunate, two of the legends of women's basketball, in a Kay Yow and a Pat Summitt, to be around them quite a bit. And again, just very blessed, being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it really is a blessing, especially when you get when you're influenced by legendary
Right.
coaches such as these two. My final question, and you've coached for 30 plus years. You have a lot of accomplishments. As I said, you're one of the only 9 coaches to win 600 games and 800 or less. You're one of the I think you're like one of the first coaches to coach Division 3, 2, and 1 to an NCAA tournament. What motivates you to keep on going as a coach? Does it involve winning championships? Does it involve seeing that some of the talent that you coach have gone pro?
Yeah, I think all of that. At one time I thought about maybe even being a youth minister and working with young people. And but I always loved sports so much. When I was in sales, I looked forward to lunch so I could read the sports page, and 5 o'clock so I could play basketball or softball, whatever was in season. So this was an opportunity when I got into coaching to combine that, to be around sports, but also to work with young people. And I still enjoy it. There's days that it's a grind, like any job. When you get into January, February, and you've been practicing every day for 3 months, and you're watching film every night on your next opponent or on yourself, your own team, it can be a grind. But it's rewarding to see kids improve on the court, to see kids grow up off the court and become adults and have successful careers. And then, quite honestly, TJ, to win. I mean, I like to win and to compete. And so it's fun. We're in a very tough league, and when you look at the schools that we're competing against in the ACC, it's brutal. But that makes it that much more rewarding when you can be successful in that situation. So probably all those things keep me going. And if I ever reach a point where I'm not excited about going to work and trying to get things done, then maybe I'll ride off in the sunset. But not there yet.
Hey, so you do what you love doing.
That's right. That's right.
Instead of clocking in, clocking out,
Right.
like some people, and also being a part of the ACC.
Right. Right.
Having that competitive fire.
Right.
It's always going to have people wanting to continue. It's been a really good interview. I thank you for your time. And NC State women's basketball, they play November 4th, I believe, right?
I think that's right. First exhibition game, and then the next weekend we start up with the real thing. And again, it's we're back here in the new Reynolds Coliseum. It's beautiful. So let me add, TJ, you've done a heck of a job with this interview, because you don't have anything in front of you, no notes or anything, and you've been able to remember these questions. And I work with people, the media, newspaper, wherever, and I hadn't had anybody probably keep that many questions in their mind and be able to recall them without peeking at something. So obviously you got a pretty good head on your shoulders, and so I wish you the best. And again, the most important thing is pursue a career that you have a passion for, and if you do that, not only will you enjoy it, you're going to be successful, because if you have a passion, you're willing to put in the time and the extra work to get it done. So good luck with your endeavors.
Thank you, Coach.
Right.
And I wish you best of luck with your season.
You too, TJ.
This is TJ. Go Wolfpack.